about your soulmate?
Oh, the soulmate relationship is a unique relationship. So the soulmate relationship is always going to be unique. So the soulmate relationship will take precedence over every other relationship you ever have.
Even with God?
And not with God. No. But remember, the two of you are two halves of the one whole. So as a completed soul, like the soulmate relationship is taking precedence with the relationships. But with God, obviously the two of you are one, and you've got this one connection with God. And that's probably a good time for you to just tell your experience, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Jen had I just want to give you a bit of preamble. Jen had this lovely dream a week ago, a vision. And all I will say is that it's about the merging of the soulmate union. It's about the soulmate union. And I think you might want to hear it, because it's quite a lovely... Have you got it written down like you had it written down on the net? You have. You got it here with you? No. You can relay it off your head anyway.
No, I know.
Yeah. So come up here.
So, leading up to the experience, Graham and I had a terrible time. I now know from today's session that at the time I was influenced by other spirits, and I spoke words that were from the spirits, and we had a miscommunication that took the whole of the day. Hey, the whole of the day we were talking to each other and not understanding. And Graham kept saying to me, you know, what you're saying to me, well, basically he said was total rot. It was horrible, it was terrible. And I was really believing it. And I left him that afternoon convinced that I was not going to ever see him again. The miscommunication was that bad. And something disconnected for me as I drove away, and I felt my soul sink and into despair, because I can't leave him. I love him, and I know I love him, and I can't. But I felt I was going to. If ever there was a time that I was going to leave him, it was that afternoon. And I drove away, and as I drove away, the feelings of suicide came. And I found myself wanting to connect with the nearest pole. And I was in dread and such heartache. I went home to my son Nicholas, who saw on my face such sadness and such deep pain. He said, "What's the matter?" I said, "I can't tell you what's the matter." And he just knew, and he said, "Come on, we're going to Jeffrey's." So we got in the car, left straight away, big spontaneous. We drove to Brisbane. Drove to Brisbane to my other son, Jeffrey, and Jeffrey said, "My God, Mum, what's wrong?" And I said, "I can't tell you what's wrong." But with Jeffrey, I can be a little bit more openly emotional, and I said, "I think I'm going to leave Graham. This is just too painful for me." Jeffrey downloaded a movie for me, and he put it on that night, and it was What Dreams May Come. And the story of What Dreams May Come, with Robin Williams in it, is the story of soulmates. The story of the journey that he dies, the children die, and she's left, and she's broken, and she doesn't know how to fix herself. And it's the story of her then committing suicide and him going to hell and back to help to have her redeem herself. And I watched that movie, and Jeffrey put it on for me to remind me of the love that I was capable of, because he understands me. And I came back from the edge that night. I came back and felt my children's support, and I hadn't really told them really much about what had happened between Graham and I, and in fact I didn't really know what had happened between Graham and I. I just knew that I'd gone through this big thing of wanting to die and wanting to leave him, and this conflict inside of me that, yes, I want to run away. No, I just can't, or I won't, yeah. So I went to bed that night. Jeffrey gave up his bed, which was a big thing, and I slept in a really strange place. Yeah, and I hadn't stayed out. The little details seem a bit significant, but I hadn't slept in his space overnight at his place before. And I had a really deep sleep, because you can understand I was wrung out. I was so low, and I went to sleep, just normal sleep. And in the early hours of the morning, just before I woke up, I felt a presence around me that pulled me into a place where I then identified that I was looking at myself. So I was third person. And I looked closely. I felt the other presence around me. And I looked at myself. I looked and I saw myself very clearly as like a soul person. And as I looked more deeply, I saw this aura of colours, like a buffer zone around me. Quite big. I was really amazed. I am amazed, as I even tell you now, as I'm connecting to it. A big buffer zone. And it goes out quite a long way. It's really amazing. And it was full of colour. And you don't know that I'm an artist, so colour really is really important to me. But there was just these beautiful colours of all different shades and hues and the depths of colour, and some seemed thicker than others and more dense, and some seemed more transparent and lighter in colour, but rich colour. And when I looked, inside of all the colours was me. It looked like me, and I was white, and I was all glowing, and I was happy, and I was, it was me. It was wonderful. And I could see me, but I also could feel that person there. So I'm third person, but I could also feel the person inside. So then the being was behind me, beautiful and white, here, guiding me kind of forward. And as I stepped forward, there was another being. And as I looked, third person, and was looking from my soul person here, there I saw all the beautiful colours, but different colours to me, and a soul person inside of another aura of colours. So in my dream experiences, I'm kind of going, it's pretty awesome. I'm like thinking third person stuff, but also feeling this intense love, because as soon as I saw this other soul person, I'm like totally there. Such law of attraction, and I kind of moved toward, now I know, was him, the person that I love, my soulmate. So beautiful. He's just so beautiful. I got to tell you, he's just so wonderful. I can't stay away from him. He's so wonderful. And the colours around him were different. So different to me, but yet so beautiful. And the third person helped me to step towards him, and so I did. I just didn't think about it. I couldn't stay away from him anyway, because he's just so wonderful. And as I stepped toward him, I saw sparks and electricity and like explosions, not a noise that I could hear, but there was explosions. There was like, and the person behind me whispered into my ear, "This is resistance." And I'm like, the colours are bumping into him. And all I wanted to do was to get to the inside. But the and explosions and electricity. And I understood. And as I expect, persistent or gentle, so gentle, I noticed too that some of the colours began to melt away. So there was initially electricity and stuff and explosions, but some of it started to melt and disappear. And I'm a pretty determined soul, you know. I want to get to him, you know, and I bugger what he wants. And so I just stayed in that space and kind of understood my resistance. I understood the colours meaning things that I still have to deal with. I saw him for the first time, so beautiful, and I just couldn't take my eyes off him, and now I can't take my eyes off him. But I didn't know at that moment, or didn't have an identification, that that person was Graham. It wasn't until nearly 3 or 4 days, and I didn't really tell Gray about it very much. It wasn't until about 3 or 4 days later where I'd worked out how I was going to get him to watch this movie, you know, like my persistence, I was going to get him to watch the movie. And I set it up and we put the movie on, and What Dreams May Come. And usually when I get into that space of, I kind of want something to happen, Graham doesn't have that much resistance. He just goes with it. You just go with it. And it's just so nice. And we watched What Dreams May Come together. And it wasn't until after the movie was over that he broke down and he cried with me. Really cried. And really opened up. And I got this feeling inside of me that it was really him. And I love him so much. And it was just so wonderful. And I got this realisation. And since then, the whole experience has been growing. It's like it's taken on a life of itself. He, in the last week, has changed so much and opened up so much. And he's such a joy to be around. Wasn't that he wasn't before, but he's just magic. And I know I've wanted this all my life. Is that enough?
No kissing if I can't do. No.
Oh, yeah.
Jenny doesn't know me, but I've listened to her get up and speak many, many times, and I've often had a reaction when she's speaking, something in me. It's like it sounded like such a little girl, even a whiny little girl, and I think that's the same in me.
Yeah.
And just today when you stood up there, I see this incredible transformation.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I just sort of felt
Yeah.
It's great affection.
I just would like to make a few comments about Jen and her progress, and I'm going to embarrass Jen because I haven't. But one thing that Jen's been willing to do is to be very humble, and she has allowed her emotions to be present just like a child. And as a result of that, her emotions have been thick and fast coming ever since we've met. And as a result of that, she's progressed very, very rapidly. She hasn't tried to judge her stuff. A lot of other people have judged her, by the way, but she doesn't try and judge her stuff. She's just allowed it all to begin flowing and keep flowing and keep flowing. And in the process, she has grown like so much, and people around her, and you can attest to this, can't you, that so many people around you are now saying how much you've changed. And even, like I heard your brother the other day say, just how much you've changed, Yeah, pretty surprised, huh? And it's so beautiful to see just someone embracing the truth and trusting and going along with it.